The House will come to order. Prayer by the chaplain.
Eternal and sovereign Father, we acknowledge today that you are God and we are not. There is much over which we have so little control. This includes the weather in Minnesota, geopolitical events on the Korean Peninsula, and many things in between. Yet the men and women gathered in this room desire to make a positive impact on this world. Lord, use their efforts toward that end, even today. Help each of them to focus on promoting what is good, right, and true. Grant wisdom that will enable them to unravel complicated issues, recognize unintended consequences, and balance competing interests in an equitable way. Allow them to acknowledge the people's business in a manner that honors you and benefits the citizens of Minnesota. I also ask, Father, that you will enable the women and men of this body to encourage one another, empower them to speak words full of grace and truth, grant them the ability to be good listeners, especially toward those with whom they often disagree. Enable them to treat each other with patience, civility, and respect. Help them to recognize that those whose opinions are very different from their own are still usually interested in what they believe to be the common good. Finally, Lord, I ask that every individual here would experience your grace and blessings in his or her life. Each brings personal concerns into this room. Some may be waiting for a biopsy result. Others might be concerned about a child who is making poor choices. Some may be experiencing significant conflict in their marriage. Others might be struggling with personal temptations or addictions. In each case, I pray you would provide the grace and strength needed for the challenges and tasks of this day. Amen.
The chaplain for today is the Reverend Dan Erickson, Chisholm Baptist Church, Chisholm, Minnesota. Pledge of Allegiance. Please remain standing and recite the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Pastor.
That happens once a year.
The clerk will take the roll. The clerk will close the roll. A quorum is present. The clerk will read the journal of the preceding day.
Journal of the House, 90th Session, 2017, 47th day, St. Paul, Minnesota, Thursday, April 27th, 2017.
If there is no objection, further reading of the journal will be dispensed with and the journal will be approved as corrected by the chief clerk. Hearing everything but objections, the journal is approved as corrected by the chief clerk. Yeah. Introduction of bills. The following House files have been offered for introduction today. The chief clerk will report the House files and give them their first reading.
Introduction of first reading of House Files 2626 through 2631.
First reading House files 2626 through 2631. Messages from the Senate.
Message from the Senate. Mr. Speaker, I hereby announce the passage by the Senate of the following Senate files herewith transmitted. Senate file number 879, 997, 1457, 1549, and 1627.
First reading of Senate files.
First reading of Senate file number 879, an act relating to insurance. Loon moved that Senate file number 879 and House file number 1046, now on the general register, be referred to the chief clerk for comparison. Hearing no objections, so ordered.
Hearing no objections, so ordered.
First reading Senate file number 997, an act relating to health insurance. Albright moved that Senate file number 997 and House file number 1203, now on the general register, be referred to the chief clerk for comparison.
Hearing no objection, so ordered.
First reading Senate file number 14.
Excuse me, members, please. Take your conversations to the alcove or the retiring room. Thank you very much.
First reading Senate file number 1457, an act relating to labor and industry. Rarick moved that Senate file number 1457 and House file number 1204, now on the general register, be referred to the chief clerk for comparison.
If no objection, so ordered.
First reading Senate file number 1549, an act relating to unemployment insurance. O'Neill moved that Senate file number 1549 and House file number 1419, now on the general register, be referred to the chief clerk for comparison.
If no objection, so ordered.
First reading Senate file number 1627, an act relating to health. Keel moved that Senate file number 1627 and House file number 1832, now on the general register, be referred to the chief clerk for comparison.
If no objection, so ordered. For what purpose does the gentleman rise?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. A point of personal privilege.
Please state your point of personal privilege.
Mr. Speaker, I have a House resolution that recognizes the North Community High School boys basketball team for winning the 2017 State High School Class A boys basketball championship, and I'd like to read the resolution. Whereas individual and team championships are highly sought honors in high school academics and sports, and whereas the Minneapolis North Community High School boys basketball team participated in the 2017 State High School Class A boys basketball tournament from March 22nd to the 25th in 2017. And whereas the Polar defeated the Northwood Grizzlies, and I don't see Representative Eklund here, but that was your team, and thank them for making it to the finals. At the Target Center in Minneapolis to win the state championship, their second straight Class A title, and they ended the season with an outstanding 32-2 record. Now, therefore, be resolved by the Committee on Rules and Legislative Administration of the House of Representatives of the State of Minnesota that it congratulates the Minneapolis North High School boys basketball team in winning their state championship. And before you applaud, I want to tell you a few things. First off, I want to recognize the coaches. Coach McKenzie. I think he's out here. Incredible coach, has done a great job with the kids at the school, and also Coach Trent Witz as one of the varsity assistant coach. And so 33 kids in their program this year. 30 of those kids made the A and B honor roll. And it's not just the student athletes in the school. 40% of the students at North High School this past year made the A and B honor roll. So this is an example of what happens when a community gets invested, and we as partners in the state that fund education, we can succeed. And it takes all of our efforts to work really, really hard. So I just, 2 times in a row, state Class A champions. For all of you who have a lot of Class A schools in your districts, there's a little bit of good news for all of you. Next year, they'll be stepping up to 2A. So there will be opportunities for others to win the Class A championship here soon. But I couldn't be more proud of representing this district and this school and these young men that have worked so hard to sort of move not only themselves forward, but also help move the whole community forward. And of course, the athletic director, Dr. Lewis, who many of you know from his past days, has done a great job as well at the school. So again, thank all of you for coming here today, and it's an honor to recognize you and the work that you've been doing. Thank you.
Calendar for the day. The first bill on the calendar for the day is House File 947. The clerk will report the bill.
House File number 947, number 1 on the calendar for the day, an act relating to education finance.
The lady from Hennepin, Chair Loon.
Thank you, members. House File 947 is just a bill to do some cleanup on our education statutes. The student achievement levy was put into place in the 2013-14 legislative cycle, and it was repealed as part of the biennial budget agreement for 15-16 legislative session, and so we're just making the cleanup in the statute to reflect that. And I would appreciate your support. Thank you.
There are no amendments at the desk. The clerk will give the bill its third reading.
Third reading, House File number 947.
Third reading. Discussion to the bill. The clerk will take the roll. The clerk will close the roll. There being 131 ayes and 0 nays, the bill is passed and its title agreed to. The next bill on the calendar for the day is House File 997. The clerk will report the bill.
House File number 997, number 2 on the calendar for the day, an act relating to local government, the first engrossment.
The gentleman from Ramsey, Representative Jessup.
Mr. Speaker and members, House File 997 will expand existing legislation for many Minnesota cities, towns, counties, and other local government entities by allowing them to receive invoices and pay vendors by electronic means. Today, a vendor who invoices a local government entity must also provide a signed declaration that the invoice is correct, is complete, and that no portion of it has yet been paid. This is mandated by statute, and it has not been updated for modern commerce. The League of Minnesota Cities brought this matter to our attention for its resolution. In past legislation, schools and some cities were approved to complete electronic commerce. However, this legislation was not inclusive for all cities and local government entities. The bill before you will allow all local government entities to engage in electronic commerce, including electronic funds transfer. Cities, towns, counties, local social service agencies, county boards of education, and even park districts are considered local government entities under this legislation. On behalf of all of these institutions serving our constituents across the state of Minnesota, I ask for your support of House File 997.
There are no amendments at the desk. The clerk will give the bill its third reading.
Third reading, House File number 997.
Third reading. Discussion to the bill. The clerk will take the roll. The clerk will close the roll. There being 131 ayes and 0 nays, the bill is passed and its title agreed to. The next bill on the calendar for the day is House File 1242. The clerk will report the bill.
House File number 1242, number 3 on the calendar for the day, an act relating to local government, the first engrossment.
The gentleman from Lyon, Representative Swedzinski.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, this bill is an effort to drive engagement in local political process by providing better communications and transparency. I do have a DE2 amendment that I wouldn't mind getting the bill up into the shape in the form that reflects some of the conversations we've had, but not all of the conversations we'd had with the cities. And I'd ask for a green vote.
There is an amendment at the desk. The clerk will report the amendment.
Swedzinski moves to amend House File number 1242, the first engrossment as follows, and the amendment is coded DE2.
The gentleman from Lyon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, House File 1242 requires cities that have already put ordinances on their website simply to post proposed ordinances 10 days prior to them being first discussed. Requires cities to provide a 10-day notice to provide ordinances changed via an opt-in email if they have one. So in other words, our previous portions of this bill really put the auspices on the cities to say, go out and find folks that would be potentially affected by those ordinance changes. We changed that to make it an opt-in. So there's a lot of cities like Bloomington that really have a pretty robust system where they go out and you can sign up for particular ordinance changes and all the rest. But there are others that simply put out a general email or don't even have email. This would affect this would affect cities in the technology space that they're currently in. So if they currently propose ordinances or meeting notice simply by going outside of their door, their city hall door, and putting something on a corkboard, we're just asking that 10 days prior to that event that you simply make it a 10-day notice. In current law, counties have a 10-day proposed ordinance change. So this would put it in step with other state or local governments when it comes to the counties and putting the city in the same basket. And I'd appreciate a green vote. Thank you.
Discussion to the amendment. The lady from Olmsted, Representative Liebling.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We don't all have the amendment yet.
Okay, thank you, Representative Liebling. We'll pause until the amendment is received at every desk. Discussion to the DE2 amendment. The lady from Dakota, Representative Halverson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. First, I want to just remind members, we're a chatty group this morning. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's nice to know we all missed each other over the weekend and need to get caught back up. But I do think that this is an important discussion. And I just wonder if Representative Swedzinski would yield to a question, please.
The gentleman from Lyon will yield. The lady from Dakota, Representative Halverson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And Representative Swedzinski, thanks for your amendment. I did get to hear a discussion around this in the Government Operations Committee, and there was certainly a number of concerns that have been raised from cities about this. And it sounded like, from your explanation, that part of your intent with these changes is to provide more cover for a city if the city maybe can't find every single nook and cranny in its district to proactively announce to that they can announce via public message online or in the newspaper. And my hope is, and hopefully you can confirm that, I have some concerns about liabilities for cities and what impact will this have in terms of a potential liability if a city doesn't manage to find every business in its district to notify with this.
The gentleman from Lyon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, members. So really by changing the auspice is putting that, we're really putting the shoulder of this on the individual or business, whatever that may be, so it really takes the auspice away from the government entity by saying it's an opt-in system. And so simply what we are requiring is asking that when the conversation happens for a business, when they're going in to maybe update their license, is that the conversation simply happens and says, hey, we have email opportunity here that you can opt into if you want to sign up so that you can receive these notices, but that's the extent of that. And then if you look at line 2.23 to 2.24, failure to provide notice. Failure to provide notice described in this section does not invalidate the ordinance or amendment. So that really, we believe that there's a vast majority of good actors within the state. There are some that maybe aren't potentially, but there definitely is concern about just really with trying to drive that engagement, and that really is what this bill is trying to get at. And if you know something's going on within the city, you're more active to engage in that activity. And I think that's really what our goal is here, is not to penalize cities, but really trying to drive that openness and transparency.
The lady from Dakota, Representative Halverson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you for that answer, Representative Swedzinski. I think that it's moving in the right direction to make sure that we're providing information as clearly and openly as possible to anyone who's going to be impacted by local ordinances. I do know that some concerns still exist from the cities regarding the 10-day notification, particularly for smaller communities who might not meet weekly with their city council. They might have a bi-monthly meeting. Are you able to describe that process a little bit more clearly, and why did you choose 10 days when the cities have some concern?
Thank you, Mr.
Is the lady from Dakota asking the gentleman from Lyon to yield?
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
He will yield. The gentleman from Lyon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, Representative Halverson. So the 10 days really is based around where the counties are at. So the counties have a 10-day minimum requirement, and then there are other areas just within for city ordinance, so in areas of livestock. And so when there's a potential notification within the area of livestock, that's current law for the cities to abide by. There are some differences in that. Our goal is not to affect interim ordinances. So let's say in a state of an emergency, you still have to post a 3-day notice. Our goal in our language is not to affect those specific changes because obviously we have to be very agile when it comes to things of natural disaster and others. So our goal is not to affect that. As far as 10 days, 10 days kind of puts it on the same plane as other government entities, and that's why we felt like that was a good number to start at. And as far as a bi-monthly meeting, that'd be every 2 weeks. We're just saying, within a couple of days, if they know that they're going to be discussing something, 10 days is a good amount of time, for a business or an individual to actually try to engage in research and engage others about the issue. And that's why we think 10 days is a good date. So it kind of revolves around what other timelines that already exist within state statute.
The lady from Hennepin, Leader Hortman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would Representative Swedzinski yield?
The gentleman will yield. The lady from Hennepin, Leader Hortman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Swedzinski, so it sounds like your primary motivation for the bill is to promote openness and transparency in government. Is that the motivation behind the bill?
The gentleman from Lyon.
Yes.
The lady from Hennepin.
He would
Leader
yield
Hortman.
to another question.
He will yield. The lady from Hennepin, Representative Portman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Swedzinski, do you think if it's a good idea to give people transparency and openness about local ordinances that we should do the same with regard to changes we might make in state law?
The gentleman from Lyon.
Mr. Speaker, Madam Minority Leader, I think we have a robust discussion at all levels of government. We have been put in charge and just trying to make it easy for local ordinances at the state, at the county, and at the city level is really what this is getting at. It doesn't necessarily, in the language of this bill, address what's going on at the state legislature.
The lady from Hennepin, Leader Hortman.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, I think Representative Swedzinski has a good bill here. I plan to vote for it. I think giving people 10 days notice of a proposed change in law seems reasonable. Seems reasonable if we're going to ask our city and county governments to live by that standard, that should be a standard that we live by here too. So at the end of the session, when we have 1,200-page bills that really substantially affect businesses all over the state, substantially affect our school districts, our state colleges and universities, that having a 10-day rule before we adopt a proposed new state law would be an appropriate amount of time to give the public to give us feedback. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The gentleman from Hennepin, Representative Freiberg.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm wondering if Representative Swedzinski would yield for a question.
The gentleman will yield. The gentleman from Hennepin.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Looking at, I do remember when this bill was discussed in government operations, but we now have some new language in this delete all amendment. It uses this expression, this phrase, it bases a lot of when the notice requirements kick in on when an ordinance is first discussed. And the phrase first discussed is used 3 times in here, lines 1.12, 1.15, 1.19. I'm just wondering, I was on the city council for 9 years. We had to give a bill 2 readings usually. I know in some cities, usually we had the ordinance ready by the time we had the first reading, but sometimes it might come up and then get amended, or we might discuss it at a work session, whether or not we should have an ordinance in the first place, but the ordinance language is not yet ready. I'm just wondering if what situation, the phrase first discussed is not described here. I'm wondering if Representative Swedzinski could explain when an ordinance is first discussed. Could it be at a work session? Could it be at first reading? When would it be? Do you have to actually have ordinance language before that happens?
The gentleman from Lyon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, Representative Freiberg. So the culmination of why first discussed is in the bill is really from a discussion we had in my office with folks from the League of Minnesota Cities, because our first range of the bill talked about first meeting, and trying to discuss when that would be and whether it be first discussed. And that was kind of, that's an area of the bill that I'm not necessarily married to. I've been talking with the League of Minnesota Cities of potentially changing that as it moves over to the Senate to help clarify that, just because there is some confusion on when that would possibly be, whether, in the idea of a bi-weekly meeting, as Representative Halverson brought up, saying, if you simply said, hey, we want to discuss this at the next meeting, would that be the discussion? Would that count? And our goal obviously is not to do that. Just by mentioning the potential ordinance is not really the goal of this. And so simply defining this a little bit deeper is our goal, and we're open to working with the League to help clarify that, to eliminate any confusion.
John from Hempel, Representative Freiberg.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Representative Swedzinski, for that answer. You are correct. I know the League still does have some concerns about that language. I had handed out a letter from the League, and they specifically mentioned that as one of the concerns. I guess I'll see how this discussion plays out, but, considering we're voting on this amendment, we're going to vote on the bill, the fact that the language isn't still yet worked out is a little concerning to me, so I'll see how the debate proceeds.
Discussion. The gentleman from Wright, Representative McDonald.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just wanted to notify that the lady from Hennepin that, like most Minnesotans, realize and recognize that what we pass here does not become law upon adoption of the House floor. It becomes law usually based on the bill, sometimes July 1st of the same year or July 1st of the previous year or the following year. So just for your notification, Madam, from Hennepin County, I know you're very intelligent, but you must be reminded that once we pass a bill off the House floor, it does not immediately become law.
Discussion to the DE2 amendment. Further discussion. All in favor say aye. Opposed say no. Motion prevails. Seeing no further amendments at the desk, the clerk will give the bill's third reading.
Third reading, House File Number 1242, as amended.
Third reading to the bill as amended. Further discussion. The gentleman from Hennepin, Representative Nelson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And would Representative Swedzinski stand for a question?
The gentleman will yield. The gentleman from Hennepin, Representative Nelson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm all for openness in government, but some of the stuff, like we've been discussed earlier, some of the smaller towns, some of the smaller cities have problems with this because they only meet every other week, and so it can drag this process out further. And I got some notification over the weekend when this bill was posted posted on the floor today, and from the city of Canby, the city administrator was complaining, that saying this is bad because we can't do good things. And last year, the Canby Chamber of Commerce came forward and they want to do a Christmas time lights parade down Main Street. And Main Street in Canby is a state highway, and state law requires that for the city to close down Main Street, if it's a state highway, they have to have an ordinance on the books to do that. If this bill had been in place last year, Canby couldn't have done this City of Lights thing that they did last year, because they wouldn't have had time to get the 10-day notice out, and then they wouldn't have had time to get the ordinance passed, and they would have been past the Christmas season, and they wouldn't have been able to do this thing that they wanted to do, which was there to promote businesses in downtown and get people to come and shop in the downtown Canby businesses. So, Mr. Speaker and members, I guess, and Mr. Representative Swedzinski, what do you say about this? This is also preventing good things from happening.
The gentleman from Lyon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Nelson, the goal of this is not, I would believe that would probably fall into an interim ordinance. which would be a temporary ordinance that didn't last for more than 1 year, because Christmas does come just one time a year. And, the goal of that is not to affect those types of situations. And so, yeah.
John from Hennepin, Representative Nelson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And that's not my understanding what interim ordinance is. Interim ordinance is. My tongue's not working right this morning. But anyway, this is something I think the city would want to do every year. And so that then, again, if they wanted to do this every year, and you're saying they would have to pass an ordinance every year to do this, instead of having a standing ordinance to allow them to do this, again, the first time they did this, like I said, if this was in effect last year, Canby would not have been able to do this. And I think everybody here would agree that doing this, the Chamber of Commerce coming forward and want to do this is a good thing. So again, Mr. Speaker, I'm going to oppose this bill because, again, there are things that we want openness in government, but there are things here, like I said, some of our smaller cities in the rural areas of our state have issues with this because it's going to hamstring them to the point where they're not going to be able to do good things as well as things that other people don't want them to do.
Further discussion to the bill as amended. The gentleman from Lyon.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate your vote.
The clerk will take the roll. The clerk will close the roll. There being 87 ayes and 44 nays, the bill is passed as amended and its title agreed to. The next bill on the calendar for the day is House File 1545. The clerk will report the bill.
House File number 1545, number 4 on the calendar for the day, an act relating to agriculture.
The gentleman from Pope, Chairman Anderson P.
Thanks, Mr. Speaker and members. I'm pinch hitting today for Chair Hamilton. This is actually his bill. This bill, House File 1545, does a couple of things. It extends the life of the Food Safety and Defense Task Force by another 10 years out to the year 2027. And it also changes slightly the definition of animals for the Department of Agriculture as they regulate the slaughter and processing of animals. In the statute, it just strikes the word large when it talks about domesticated animals. So they now can regulate the slaughter and processing of animals of all sizes. And we feel that that's a good thing. So with that, Mr. Speaker, I believe there is an amendment, and I will stand for questions.
The amendment has been withdrawn. The clerk will give the bill its third reading.
Third reading, House File number 1545.
Third reading, discussion to the bill. The clerk will take the roll. The clerk will close the roll. There being 131 ayes and 1 nay, the bill is passed and its title agreed to. The next bill on the calendar for the day is House File number 2174. The clerk will report the bill.
House File number 2174, number 5 on the calendar for the day, an act relating to local government.
The gentleman from Ramsey, Representative Jessup.
Mr. Speaker and members, House File 2174 authorizes Ramsey County to create 5 full-time equivalent supported work positions to hire individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities and who require the engagement of a work coach. These positions will provide employment to 5 to 15 people depending on the number of hours per week worked. This program will mirror one that is already in place at the state level and allows Ramsey County to incorporate the Olmsted Plan into their operations. As many of you are aware, the Olmsted Plan is a comprehensive, planned approach to provide opportunities for those with disabilities to develop as fully as possible the lives they choose. Employment in the community is one of the options for people with disabilities to consider and pursue. Many advocacy entities requested mention of their support for this bill. They include ARC of Minnesota, Legal Aid Disability Law Center, and Kaposia, a disability provider that works with Ramsey County. The Department of Human Services has also communicated their support for this legislation. Members, on behalf of Ramsey County and individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities, I ask for your support of House File 2174.
There are no amendments at the desk. The clerk will give the bill its third reading.
Third reading, House File number 2174.
Third reading, discussion to the bill. The clerk will take the roll. The clerk will close the roll. Bliss votes aye, there being 132 ayes and 0 nays. The bill is passed and its title agreed to. The next bill on the calendar for the day is Senate File 799. The clerk will report the bill.
Senate File number 799, number 6 on the calendar for the day, an act relating to state government.
Chairman Dean.
Mr. Speaker, members, this deals with interagency transfers, and I believe there's a delete everything amendment that we are going to insert for the House language for the
Chairman Dean, I have a DEA 943 amendment. The clerk will report the amendment.
Dean M. moves to amend Senate File number 799 as introduced, and the amendment is coded DEA 943.
To the amendment, Chair Dean M.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. This just adds a couple of different things. It strikes the language that a copy of the interagency agreement needs to be part of this report. That's a technical change that will put us a little bit different from the Senate and move us along on a little bit of a parallel track, but we cannot concur with the Senate language. We're going to put our House language in.
Discussion. All in favor say aye. Opposed say no. The motion prevails. There are no further amendments to the desk. Clerk will give the bill its third reading as amended.
Third reading, Senate File Number 799, as amended.
Third reading, 799, as amended. To the bill, the gentleman from Washington, Chairman Dean M.
Appreciate your support.
Further discussion. The lady from Olmsted, Representative Liebling.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would Representative Dean yield to question?
The gentleman will yield. The lady from Olmsted, Representative Liebling.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Dean, could you just explain to the body a little bit more about what the bill does? And maybe I kind of suspect that this is a bill that has wheels on it, but in any event, people will be voting for or against it, and I think they need to know what the bill does.
The gentleman from Washington, Chairman Dean M.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Fair enough. Representative Liebling, what the bill deals with is interagency agreements, and that is a topic of debate around here because when one agency bills another agency and gets money for that, that can be normal, good, and healthy. In the case of the Department of Health needing to use people or small amounts of money to complete a report from another, from DHS, for example, it's a very common thing. But as years go by around here, one of the things that I've noticed is that the interagency agreements get larger and larger and more encompassing, and it can actually kind of be a way for the executive branch to rewrite budgets. So it's something that I paid close attention to. I know a lot of other legislators have, that we want to become more of the process that requires the executive branch to notify us and let us know what's going on when one agency bills another and transfers money. It brings the legislature back in and helps us do our job a little bit better.
Discussion to the bill as amended. The lady from Olmsted, Representative Liebling.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Representative Dean. I had understood that this is something that you kind of went after in the last legislative session or maybe 2 years ago. And so as I understand it, what the bill is doing is kind of cutting back on that a little. I think sometimes as legislators, you know, we want everything to be reported to us. And in fact, it can become overwhelming to get every little piece of paper and every report of every single thing that goes on in state government. So there are things definitely we need to know about, and sometimes there are things that we need to let the experts do. So my understanding is that this bill kind of makes the reporting a little bit more reasonable. At least I hope that's what it's doing. And if I'm wrong, I hope you'll stand up and say so, but I'm going to support you. Thank you.
Discussion. The clerk will take the roll on the bill as amended. The clerk will close the roll. There being 129 ayes and 0 nays, the bill is passed as amended and its title agreed to. The next bill on the calendar for the day is Senate File 870. The clerk will report the bill.
Senate File Number 870, number 8 on the calendar for the day, an act relating to local government, the first engrossment.
The gentleman from Stearns, Representative Howe.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. This bill, what this bill does is authorizes the cities to raise money and spend money on events like National Night Out and others national events to try and foster better relationships between our communities and our police departments. I believe this is a very important bill at this time in our juncture because we've got strained relationships between our police departments and our communities, and this is an effort to for these cities to be able to raise some money and spend that money. So I ask for your support.
There are no amendments to the desk. The clerk will give the bill its third reading.
Third reading, Senate File Number 870.
Third reading, discussion to the bill. The gentleman from Hennepin, Representative Dabney.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will the author of the bill yield for a question?
The gentleman will yield. The gentleman from Hennepin, Representative Dabney.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And to the author, you used the phrase National Night Out specifically in the legislation. That is a trademarked phrase, and not all local communities use that, by that phrase. My community is one of the top, in air quotes, National Night Out communities in the country, but we don't use that terminology because it doesn't seem like a good choice of public funds to simply pay for a trademark. Does this bill limit the use of public funds to only trademarked events?
The gentleman from Stearns, Representative Howe.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and Representative Dabney. Actually, that's why we took the Senate language. The Senate language actually says other programs, and that's exactly why we took the Senate language, is because the House language specifically said National Night Out. We expanded the program.
Further discussion? The clerk will take the roll on the bill. The clerk will close the roll. There being 131 ayes and 1 nay, the bill is passed and its title agreed to. The next bill on the calendar for the day is Senate File 1020. The clerk will report the bill.
Senate File Number 1020, number 9 on the calendar for the day, an act relating to local government, the second engrossment.
The gentleman from Scott, Representative Christensen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, members, this bill allows local units of governments to spend over the current $800 cap, which was instituted in 1957 on trophies, T-shirts, etc., for things like T-ball leagues. Essentially, this allows cities like Savage to do this, to operate T-ball leagues. Much of this is just pass-through money from registration fees from parents. And just for members' information, in 1998, I was on the Domino's Pizza team in the Savage T-ball league.
There is an amendment at the desk. The clerk will report the amendment.
Christensen moves to amend Senate File Number 1020. The second engrossment as follows, and the amendment is coded DEA 1345.
To the amendment, the gentleman from Dakota, Representative Christensen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, members, this just substitutes the House language for the Senate language.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed say no. The amendment is adopted. There is an amendment at the desk. The clerk will report the amendment.
Nelson moves to amend Senate File Number 1020, the second engrossment as amended, and the amendment is coded A3.
The gentleman from Hennepin, Representative Nelson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And members, what this amendment does is basically it's cleaning up old language in statute. The language we're talking about goes back to 1945 at a time when the legislature had more control over American Legion groups, VFWs, and the like. And in current law, and we're putting back in the House language, it leaves that American Legion posts and other incorporated veterans organizations bound by this statute. And we're basically removing them from statute, and so that taking that away from them, and they have the ability to monitor their own funds.
Discussion to the amendment. The gentleman from Dakota, Representative Christensen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you for the amendment. It's a good amendment to clean up language, and I recommend a yes vote.
Discussion to the Nelson Amendment, the A3 Amendment. All in favor say aye. Opposed say no. Motion prevails. There are no further amendments at the desk. The clerk will give the bill its third reading.
Third reading, Senate File Number 1020, as amended.
Third reading, discussion to the bill as amended. The gentleman from Blue Earth, Representative Considine.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will the author yield for a question?
He will yield. The gentleman from Blue Earth.
Representative Christensen, it removes the cap on awards and trophies. Is it possible that a municipality could purchase a trip to Hawaii and then award that to the city manager?
The gentleman from Dakota, Representative Christensen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Considine. That wouldn't be applicable under this section of statute. I'm not sure about other sections of statute, but I bet if they did, they wouldn't win the next election.
The gentleman from Blue Earth, Representative Considine.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm just wanting to make sure that this can't get out of hand. And is there something in there that I'm not seeing that limits what they can do with taxpayer dollars?
Are you asking the gentleman to yield?
Yes, I'm sorry.
He will yield. The gentleman from Dakota.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Considine. If you look at the bill, it's funds available to it for the purchase of awards and trophies. It may operate a program of public recreation and playgrounds, acquire, equip, and maintain land, buildings, or other recreational facilities, including an outdoor indoor swimming pool, and that goes on. But it's talking about recreation leagues and that sort of thing.
The gentleman from Blue Earth, Representative Considine.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will he yield for one last question?
He will. The gentleman from Blue Earth.
So, Representative Christensen, you're confident that this cannot be abused?
The gentleman from Dakota, Representative Christensen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Considine. Yes, the local elected officials have discretion in this sort of area, but certainly this applies to recreational leagues.
The gentleman from Blue Earth.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Representative Christensen.
The gentleman from Dodge, Chairman Drazkowski.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If Representative Christensen will yield.
He will yield. The gentleman from Dodge.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So Representative Christensen, I did pull the bill up here, and so after Representative Nelson's amendment, as I understand it, this just pertains only to local units of government now. Is that correct?
The gentleman from Dakota, Representative Christensen.
Mr. Speaker, Representative Drazkowski, yes.
The gentleman from Dodge.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, members, I would urge a no vote on this particular bill. We are encouraging governments to spend, as I see it with this bill, more funds on trophies and awards instead of roads and bridges. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Discussion to the bill is amended. The clerk will take the roll. Members, please vote. The clerk will close the roll. There being 98 ayes and 32 nays, the bill is passed as amended and its title agreed to. The next bill on the calendar for the day is Senate File 1113. The clerk will report the bill.
Senate File number 1113, number 10 on the calendar for the day, an act relating to counties.
The gentleman from Sherburne, Representative Zerwas.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, members. This bill allows law libraries, if they have operating funds sufficient to operate for 5 years, to transfer up to $200,000 towards the construction of a new law library and furnishings. So I would encourage a green vote.
There is an amendment at the desk. The clerk will report the amendment.
Freiberg moves to amend Senate File number 1113 as follows, and the amendment is coded DE1.
The gentleman from Hennepin, Representative Freiberg.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for considering this amendment. I am not totally opposed to the main purpose of the bill. I take Representative Zerwas certainly at his word. My understanding is this is an issue in Sherburne County, that the courts there need some funding, and that the user fees that generally under state law go towards law libraries is one possible source for that. However, the impact of the bill is broader than that. It would let any county do this in Minnesota. I have heard from several law librarians around the state who have concerns with this. They're worried that it will undercut the small source of funding that they already have, and just basically let county governments use this to fund courts at the expense of the law libraries. This was set up quite a while ago for states, for counties to have this authority, to be a secure source of funding for law libraries, for access for the public to our laws, which can be a difficult area for many members of the public, especially if they don't have expensive subscriptions to some of our law resources that are online. So this amendment would just limit the scope of the bill to Sherburne County, which is where the situation developed. We do this in certainly other areas of the law, whether we're talking about making county positions elected or appoint versus appointed. We do them one at a time. Certainly in this case, when this is the first time this is happening, it seems to make sense to try this out in one county. So if it seems like it works there, if it's needed everywhere, then we could subsequently expand it to every county. But this amendment would just limit it to Sherburne County, where the situation originally developed. I'd encourage members to vote in favor of this amendment, and I hope Representative Zerwas would consider it a friendly one.
Discussion to the DE1 amendment. The gentleman from Sherburne, Representative Zerwas.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, members. Thank you, Representative Freiberg, for bringing this forward. I urge a no vote.
Discussion. The gentleman from Hennepin, Representative Nelson.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I'm sorry to hear that from Representative Zerwas, because this sets a big precedent. I mean, right now, and it could actually be argued that the Sherburne County Law Library Board already has the authority to do this, that they have the authority. These law libraries are governed by boards, and those boards have the ability to spend their money. And so they already have the ability to do what Representative Zerwas wants to do. It's my understanding that it was said in committee that they're building a new courthouse in Sherburne County, and they have to provide space for the law library, and they're asking them for help to fund that, partially fund that. And again, Sherburne County, the law library in Sherburne County, the board has the ability already to do that. So in effect, this bill's really not needed. But by doing this bill, by opening it up, we're basically looking at a money grab that counties could look at
the money that, again, comes from the fees of the people that use the law library to grab that money and backfill their budgets. And so I think the amendment that Representative Freiberg has is a good amendment because it limits to Sherburne County. They want to be able to help out. I mean, the Law Library Board wants to be able to help out with the new facilities, but it's by expanding it to all the state, you're basically opening up a money grab that counties could use to take money away from the law libraries, which are essential to our justice system.
Gentleman from Ramsey, Representative Pinto.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will the bill's author, Representative Zerwas, yield to a question?
The gentleman will yield. The gentleman from Ramsey, Representative Pinto.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So, Representative Zerwas and members, it seemed like what was described here seems pretty logical, that there's a particular concern in Sherburne County, and so it seems like the amendment would focus on that. When Representative Zerwas got up, he simply told members to vote no. I wonder if he could enlighten members as to why the situation involving his one county should be expanded to cover the other 86 counties in the state rather than simply adopting this amendment to address his concern.
The gentleman from Sherburne, Representative Zerwas.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, the bill is crafted very narrowly. It sets in some pretty tough guardrails to hold within a transfer. The law library would have to have enough funds in reserve to operate for 5 years, and then the maximum amount that could be transferred is $200,000 or half the amount of reserves, whatever is less. There are counties that are all over the state that are building or expanding or rehabilitating courthouses or county government centers that will include needing new spaces for law libraries. It makes sense to me that up to $200,000 of that expense should be available from the law library fund. If, by having that transfer done, the law library can continue to operate for 5 years without it having an impact in the cash flow, and $200,000 isn't more than half of the reserves. There's a very limited bill in what it allows counties to do with their law library fund. I oppose the amendment, and that's why.
Gentleman from Ramsey, Representative Pinto.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And Representative Zerwas, I appreciate that you want a narrow bill, want those guardrails you describe, although I'll point out that those guardrails, as you say, still would allow that these library funds to be used in these other counties. I guess it seems to me, Representative Zerwas, that we could have guardrails just around Sherburne County, which is the county this was concerned about in the first place. So I guess if Representative Zerwas would yield to another question.
The gentleman will yield. The gentleman from Ramsey, Representative Pinto.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So, Representative Zerwas, have you heard from other counties expressing a need, expressing a concern about this beyond your own county? This amendment would deal with the concerns in your own county, set up those good guardrails around your county without kind of plowing into other counties as you go along.
The gentleman from Sherburne, Representative Zerwas.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, members. What the bill does is allows all counties and county libraries to be treated equally, and I think that's very important. I think the responsible thing for us to do is allow counties as they operate and they build facilities or expand facilities or remodel facilities, that if we're building a new facility or remodeling a facility for a law library, the law library ought to be able to participate in that. And so I think that's vitally important, and that's why I oppose the amendment.
Gentleman from Ramsey, Representative Pinto.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So, Representative Ross, what you were asked was, were there any other counties that have approached you, provided input on this? I'm going to take your answer to be a no. You talk about, although please correct me if that's wrong. You talk about a responsible course. It seems to me that if other counties have not approached you about this, Representative Zerwas, your county has. We have an amendment here that can address your county's concern. We know that there are other counties that have expressed concern about this. If we kind of do the math, we've got counties expressing concern on the one hand, no counties except for your own asking for this. We can have your county have that be dealt with and set up those guardrails and have a responsible approach by voting in favor of this amendment. I guess I haven't heard of any reason from all of our other 86 counties that folks represent, and just so our members are aware and the state is aware, there has been concern expressed by law libraries around the state, and again, nothing from the other side. We can deal with Sherburne County by voting in favor of this amendment, so I would urge a green vote on the amendment. Thank you.
Gentleman from Hennepin, the author of the amendment, Representative Freiberg.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like a roll call vote on the amendment.
Roll call having requested out of 15 hands, seeing 15 hands, there will be a roll call. Representative Freiberg. Okay. The lady from Dakota, Representative Halverson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I rise to urge members to support this amendment. As we've heard from the discussion and debate thus far, there really is not a call for this shift of funds to be happening anywhere else in the state other than Sherburne County. In fact, I have heard from librarians in other counties that vehemently oppose this, including Scott County and Hennepin County and Wright County, Ramsey County, Carver County, and Washington County. And so this is something that the libraries are having a great concern over. And if it is something that is in agreement in Sherburne County that this needs to be done, then I think that it should be isolated to Sherburne County. I think that moving this bill to be for statewide action doesn't make a bit of sense, in large part because it creates huge shifts in governmental spending. We're taking user fees that are paid to the law library for the support of the law library. We want our agencies to be able to be self-sufficient and self-supporting when they can be. Yay for us. And then they accomplish that and we're going to raid their funds. It doesn't make a bit of sense. And so I would like to see this amendment adopted so that we can allow Representative Zerwas to address the issue as he sees fit in his county. However, those of us who have counties who are opposed to it would like to see us protect our counties. Thank you.
Discussion to the DE1 amendment. The clerk will take the roll. The clerk will close the roll. There being 64 ayes and 68 nays, the amendment is not adopted. Seeing no further amendments at the desk, the clerk will give the bill its third reading.
Third reading, Senate File Number 1113.
Third reading. Discussion to the bill. The lady from Dakota, Representative Halverson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So close on that amendment. That really would have solved a lot of issues with regard to this bill. So the amendment didn't go on, so now we're looking at imposing this statewide on all of our counties. And it's really a statewide mandate to allow our counties to be able to raise funds that are raised from user fees for a very specific purpose. I have a theory that if you've made the librarians upset and you've got the librarians calling and activating on an issue, you've struck a nerve. The librarians in our state and the law librarians, I'm sure are no example, serve a really important purpose to make sure that the public has information that it needs, that our attorneys and people working within our legal system have the information that they need, and people are paying for that privilege through user fees. And now we're saying to counties, go ahead and raid those funds that are dedicated to our law libraries. And these aren't going to be millions of dollars of library funds. It's not like they're building up huge reserves. And And there's important work that need to go on in our law libraries. We need to make sure that they're able to invest in the right technology and the right resources to provide information for the consumers that they serve. So part of this bill is just plain not necessary, because it purports to empower law libraries to use funds for the construction of new law libraries. That already exists in state statute. That already exists in state statute. Law library funds can be used for the construction of new law libraries. However, the bill goes on to expand the use of library funds to create new court facilities, construction of new court facilities, which I have no doubt are necessary and important to our counties. But we're hearing from our counties and from agencies all over the state about how we are hamstringing the judicial system, how we are not giving them the resources that they need. And because of that, we're putting our counties in a position to raid their own funds that are raised from users of law libraries. That's irresponsible. The library fees are to be allotted for the support of the library as per state law. The notion that we are going to defray costs of construction for new libraries and courts greatly expands the use that has been permitted by the state for our law library fees. Again, there's no preemption on these funds being used for construction or support of current law libraries or the expansion of law libraries around the state. But now we're going to ask them to pay for the courts. And we know why a county like Sherburne might be looking for ways to shift money around to pull support that they have gotten for their law libraries to pay for court construction, when we look at the way that we are asking our local governments more and more and more to put burdens on our local taxpayers because of the number of unfunded mandates that are coming down from the state of Minnesota. So here we've got a responsibly run organization that supports itself, that supports construction of law libraries through user fees, and we're going to say any extra you got is just there for the taking. That's unfair to our local law libraries, and it's unfair to our counties to put them in the position of having to ask them to raid other funds. So I'm going to oppose this bill, and I'm going to oppose this bill on behalf of the many librarians who contacted me to oppose this bill. Don't upset the librarians. We need them. This is fiscally irresponsible. Let's do right by our counties. We can fund our courts appropriately, and we can allow our law libraries to continue to function with user fees without being raided. Thanks.
The lady from Dakota, Representative Mason.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I too rise against this. This just is inherently wrong. Again, it's been mentioned that the librarians are against this, and more importantly to me is trying to maintain the integrity of the accounts that we have. It seems to me that the current majority is constantly doing the shifts and gimmicks, and this is just another time where you're trying to take money from one account for another purpose for which it was not intended. And it's like playing a shell game all the time. Again, the other thing I might mention, if they're able to raise that much money in reserves, then maybe we ought to be decreasing some fees along the way. But again, we can deal with this in other ways. This bill is not necessary, and again, it's fiscally irresponsible.
Discussion to the bill as amended. The clerk will take the roll on the bill as amended.
The clerk will close the roll. There being 69 ayes and 62 nays, the bill is passed as amended and its title agreed to. The next bill on the calendar for the day is Senate File 1135. The clerk will report the amendment, or the bill. Senate File number 1135, number 11 on the calendar for the day, an act relating to local government. The lady from Anoka, Representative Bernardy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise before you for a bill today that has bipartisan support. It has been passed unanimously in both the House and the Senate committees, as well as on the Senate floor. Ramsey County is a charter county, and it has its own state statutes. So oftentimes when other governmental agencies and the operations involving statutes for them get passed, Ramsey County's statute is not cross-referenced and updated. So this bill before you, more specifically, Senate File 1135, would amend 3 human resource related provisions, and these changes are entirely non-controversial. I appreciate your support for this bill, and thank you.
There are no amendments to the desk. The clerk will give the bill its third reading.
Third reading, Senate File number 1135.
Third reading, discussion to the bill. The clerk will take the roll on the bill. Clerk will close the roll. There being 132 ayes and 0 nays, the bill is passed and its title agreed to. For what purpose does the gentleman rise?
Mr. Speaker, point of personal privilege.
Please state your point of personal privilege. The gentleman from Hennepin, Representative Lee.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, I rise in recognition of the month of May as Asian Pacific American Heritage Month. It was created in 1992 to pay tribute to the generations of Asians and Pacific Islanders who have enriched America's history and are instrumental in our success. The month of May was chosen to commemorate the immigration of the first Japanese to the United States on May 7, 1843, and to mark the anniversary of the completion of the Transcontinental Road on May 10, 1869. The majority of the workers who laid the tracks were Chinese immigrants. Today, Asians remain the fastest growing ethnic group in the United States and Minnesota. However, Asian Americans are not a monolith. They are made up of immigrants and their descendants from dozens of countries, and here in Minnesota, the Asian American community is made up of groups from 40 different countries, and our Asian Pacific population is vastly different from the national makeup. 50% of our Asian American population identifies as Southeast Asian compared to 21% of the national average, with the Hmong community accounting for 27% of all Asian Pacific Minnesotans. Thus, as we debate public policy here in the legislature, I want us to be cognizant of the many Asian Americans in Minnesota, each with a unique history, culture, language, and pathway to America, and their many contributions to our state. Thank you.
The next bill on the calendar for the day is Senate File Motions and resolutions. There are copies of the non-controversial motions at the House desk and online. If there is no objection, we will take action on these motions first. Hearing no objection, the motions prevail. Motions and resolutions.
Omar moves that the rules of the House be so far suspended that House File Number 2630 be recalled from the Committee on Health and Human Services Reform, be given its second and third readings, and be placed upon its final passage.
The lady from Hennepin, Representative Omar.
Thank you, Speaker. Members, today I'm requesting that we suspend the rules to debate House File 2630 so that our health professionals can do more outreach, education, and increase the number of vaccinated Minnesotans to prevent the spread of measles and other vaccine-preventable diseases now and in the future. With the recent incidents of measles cases among unvaccinated children, especially in the Somali American community, we all need to take steps to reduce the spread of this virus. We need to be taking all necessary steps to encourage parents of all backgrounds in every Minnesota community to get their children vaccinated and prevent the spread of measles virus to yourselves and others. I want you and your children and everyone in our community to be safe. The best thing that we can do today is to act and make sure no more children are put in harm's way. This bill will help establish and appropriate $500,000, a one-time appropriation in 2018, for an immunization grant program to specific geographic areas and populations experiencing the outbreak, and make sure that vaccine-preventable diseases are no longer happening within our communities. And so, members, I urge you to join me in allowing this motion to pass so that we can get on debating the real issue here at hand. And I ask for a roll call.
Roll call having been requested. Are there 15 hands? There will be a roll call. The motion for suspension of the rules is debatable. The gentleman from Hennepin, Representative Freiberg.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Representative Omar, for your leadership in authoring this bill and making this motion. This is a critical issue. I have been the author for a few years now of legislation dealing with the immunization exemption requirements in Minnesota law and strengthening them so that more people and more children are vaccinated in Minnesota. The bill, unfortunately, has not received a hearing this year. It's House File 96. I introduced it early this session. But I do know, it's really unfortunate that the issue of vaccines has been politicized. It's not totally been made partisan. Representative Uglum is a co-author of House File 96, and I really appreciate his support on that bill. So there is, I do know, bipartisan support for scientifically accurate information about vaccines. Unfortunately, the bill has not received a hearing this year. I know this bill, I think, takes an approach that I hope would be less political. There would be more universal agreement around it, since it just increases funding for education related to immunizations and vaccine-preventable diseases such as measles. It doesn't get into the whole issue of the exemption. I do think that is something we need to do, particularly with the current outbreak that we're seeing. We're up to 32 cases now. And but in the meantime, I do hope that an approach such as this one can help alleviate the issue facing our communities here in Minnesota. We do need to do something, and again, I applaud Representative Omar for your leadership on this issue.
Discussion. The gentleman from Benton, Chairman Knobloch.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, I would speak against suspending the rules. Members, while this is an important issue, if you look at the language, first of all, this is available in fiscal year 2018, so the money wouldn't even be available for the next 2 months.
whatever issues we have with measles right now are not going to be fixed by this particular piece of legislation where the money isn't even available for some months from today. Members, the Health and Human Services Committee is in conference. I know they'll be having further discussions with the governor. If there is some feeling that this is needed, they can certainly talk about that and I think make that part of the bill. And beyond that, members, if we did bring it up today, it would probably violate the budget resolution as well. So members, I'd urge you to vote no on the motion to suspend the rules.
Discussion. The lady from Dakota, Representative Halverson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And we are dealing in Minnesota with one of the most serious contagious disease outbreaks that we have had in the nation. And this disease outbreak is impacting children mostly, some of the most people with the most vulnerable health statuses. And so risk of death is real serious with measles. The risk of children dying is very serious when it comes to measles. Minnesota saw 3 children die in the last measles outbreak that our state had. Our state health department is already working hard to identify, track, and contain this outbreak. And they're putting out resources currently. And so saying that the money just won't be there fast enough, I don't think is very accurate. I know that we declared a similar emergency with regard to Ebola funding for the Department of Health in order to backfill what they had spent. We weren't in session when the Ebola outbreak and concerns were happening. Our health department was working fast and furiously to ensure that Ebola was not going to become a public health epidemic in Minnesota, and in fact it didn't, thanks in large part to our public health workers. And we did declare an urgency, and we did get them funding to backfill. And so if we are planning, if we allow our health department to be able to plan, to know what resources are going to be available to them in a few months, I think that that would be extremely helpful. In addition, we're not just declaring a public policy urgency, we need to declare a health urgency in the state of Minnesota and get this bill heard and get this bill passed, because the lives of the children of the state of Minnesota depend on all of us. The fact is there's no reason that there should be a measles outbreak in the state of Minnesota. This is a preventable illness. And it's time for us to stand up and make sure that we give our communities every tool at our disposal to make sure that we can save the lives of the children of our state.
The gentleman from Hennepin, Representative Dean R.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. I think we should suspend the rules. 2 years ago, we suspended the rules for turkeys and turkey farmers to address an issue that had gone pretty bad in their industry. And we're talking about our kids. These are our children. And for some of you, that could be your child next week. I mean, this isn't like just some game we're playing about what's the right thing to do, what's, the political thing to do. This shouldn't be a political issue. This should be something that we do. We do it today, and we can talk about 2 months all we want, but we know that there needs to be resources brought to this issue, and we should do it. It's our job. So please vote to suspend the rules.
The gentleman from Hennepin, Representative Davney.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. Thank you, Representative Omar, for responding to the needs not just of your community, but of our community and our state right now. Members, mark your calendars, because this is a day that I'm going to positively quote the Heartland Institute. Now, that one, yeah, see, folks are laughing, and you're right, except I think Representative Considine raised on the floor last week the old term about even a blind pig finds an acorn every now and again. And on this one, when it comes to vaccines and protecting our community, the Heartland Institute actually gets it right when they say vaccination is not about protecting the vaccinated so much as it is about, and their emphasis, protecting others from disease carriers. Vaccines are properly understood not on the basis of narrow self-interest, but as the defense of the human species. And they go on to say, fundamentally, the protection against life-threatening plague is one of the original reasons that government exists. Members, we've got a growing crisis in expanding across our state in an entirely preventable disease that puts particularly young children at present at risk, but also those with immunosuppression, those too young to have been vaccinated, those in healthcare problems already. It's the time for the state to act. Please vote to suspend the rules.
The lady from Hennepin, Representative Pryor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have to rise today to speak in favor of this motion to suspend the rules and vote on this. I have 4 grandchildren right now. The oldest is 6, and she has gone and gotten all of her immunizations. The next one is 4. Every step of the way, he has been immunized. The next one is 2.5. She's working on it. She's not there yet because she's too young to have all the immunizations yet. Then there's 1.5. Then we have 2 of them that aren't born yet. And when they're born, they will not be immunized. And we know that the measles will be out there, and it's in our community. So we know that the parents right now that are not immunizing their children are doing it because they love their children. But they're doing it because they do not have good information about how to protect their children. And we know it's protecting their children and protecting all of our children to have them being immunized. So that's why we need to take action today, and to take action together. This is not a partisan vote. This is a vote of common sense. This is a vote of personal conscience. So I ask today to vote in favor of this measure, and that we can act now and protect all of our children with good information, good scientifically based information about the value of vaccinations. So please vote in favor.
Discussion. The gentleman from Hennepin, Representative Carlson L.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I thought I was on your list when I got up earlier, but I'd like to make a couple of quick comments. Many years ago, I was approached by the Minnesota Department of Health and asked if I would carry some legislation dealing with the immunization of children entering our K-12 school system. And that is the law today, and it was broad-based support from people on both sides of the aisle. I happened to be the chief author of it at the time. But we had, at the time, population groups in our rural counties, and the statistics, I won't quote any of them because it's so long ago they probably wouldn't be as accurate as I'd like them to be today, but we had certain rural counties, especially with high incidences of poverty, that their children were not being immunized. And so we used the schools as the gatekeeper. We also, for the same reason, some of our center city communities, there again a high incidence of poverty in those neighborhoods, and therefore a lack of immunizing their children. So we used, again, just like we did with the rural counties, the argument was one, well, where can we find a gatekeeper? And it was the schools. But we're talking now about younger children that aren't immunized. We still have that gatekeeper with the schools in place. So I would strongly support, because of the emergency situation that we have before us, and I don't think anybody's mentioned some of the health factors with the measles, but you know, it's in rare instances can cause death, but it can also cause deafness, blindness. So the health impact is huge when a child is not immunized and does develop measles. So I don't think we want to see our children put at risk. The other thing I'd like to comment, as most of you know, I do monitor things before the Ways and Means Committee fairly closely. And we still have somewhere between 900,000 and 1 million in the category of other bills. So clearly the amount in this bill fits within the budget resolution. And remember, the floor here is the governing body. And so we can choose to make that appropriation if the will of the body is there, and I think it should be. There's also an additional 13.6 million left on what we call the bottom line. Now that would take an amendment to the budget resolution, as my friend Representative Knobloch knows. But for the other bills, that's already built into the budget resolution, and so the money would be there for the purpose of this bill that's before us here today.
Discussion. The lady from Ramsey, Representative Murphy E.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. I think it is good to take a little time to talk about this proposal. Representative Ilhan Omar's move to suspend the rules, to take up a piece of legislation and to declare an urgency. Maybe it wasn't something that you anticipated, and maybe that's why you immediately moved to reject the idea, Representative Knobloch. But I think what she is talking about is a pretty sensible, pretty common sense action that would help families across the state of Minnesota. And I think it is good that we're spending just a little bit of time talking about it to give you a little bit more time to reflect on why you would reject this. Now, I understand the process argument. You know, this could happen someplace else. I can understand you didn't expect it, so you didn't really think about it. But Minnesotans do, I believe, see us, the legislature, as a body that is responsive to Minnesotans' needs. I don't think they think we're very nimble, and we haven't given them much reason to believe that we are nimble. I don't think they think we are willing to make decisions unless we're forced to do it, and we've given them all sorts of reasons to believe that, given that we're just 3 weeks from being done with the end of session, and we don't look like we're going to finish our work on time, so we're heading again to what looks like a disorderly ending. But we know there are 34 Minnesota children that are now infected with measles. We know that it is an outbreak larger than we have seen in Minnesota in a long time, and we know it is related to the fact that there are kids in our state that are not getting a proper vaccination. And if we care about kids, and everybody says that they do, then we should do more to reach out to those families and help them understand why that vaccination is so important. 34 Minnesota kids have measles. It means new babies could get it too that aren't vaccinated, like Representative Pryor reminded us. So this is our chance to show Minnesotans right now that we could set politics aside, or set the power of what the majority holds aside, and come together around an idea that Representative Omar is presenting to us, and show that we can put the politics aside for the sake of kids and families in the state of Minnesota. We're not asking for much. She's not asking for very much. $500,000 to my family is a lot of money, but in the scope of the state budget and the state budget that we're going to put in place eventually, it is not very much money. But to prevent the further spread of a preventable disease, we have that opportunity right now. But it means for the majority to set aside the power that you have as a majority to say, you know what, someone in the minority in the Democratic caucus has a good idea. Set our egos aside. Let's do what's right for kids. I'm talking a little while because I want you to think about it. I see you smiling over there, Representative Knobloch. Maybe I'm breaking through. Maybe I'm softening up your heart just a little bit. So you would think maybe that's right. Maybe we should do that today. We should suspend the rules and have the debate. And maybe we can send some money to the Department of Health so they can do some work to help families understand the importance of vaccines so we can prevent a preventable disease. 34 Minnesota children have the measles. And if we could set our egos aside, just consider this and take the vote. We can show Minnesotans that we're actually paying attention to what's happening in their lives, and we're willing to act to do something about it.
please vote to suspend the rules. Let's have this discussion for the sake of the kids of Minnesota.
The lady from Dakota, Representative May Quaid.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, I'll be very brief because so much of this has been said, but I just want to bring us back to the fact that these are our babies. These are our Minnesota babies and children who could be sick, who could be ill. And I woke up and I read this editorial that Representative Omar had passed out, and the line that got me was, Minnesota's Somali American families should know that the state stands with their community during this outbreak. And so when we vote to suspend the rules today, we take that stance. We take that stance literally, we take that stance figuratively, we stand with other Minnesotans who are suffering from this. And we do this small thing to further prevent a larger outbreak, to further protect children, to further protect those who can't have immunizations because they're not old enough or they're immunocompromised. This is something that we can do. So when we vote to suspend the rules, and I really hope that we do, this is not a partisan thing, that there is a line that says, no matter how partisan it can get in here, no matter the theatrics, that's the line. Our Minnesota kiddos, their health, their safety, their well-being, that's the line. It's not partisan. We're here to do the work for them. So let's do the work today. Let's suspend the rules and support this bill that Representative Omar has put forth. Thank you.
The lady from Olmsted, Representative Liebling.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And the one small thing I want to add to this discussion, although it really isn't very small, is that one of the effects of measles, and I'm getting this right from the website of the Mayo Clinic, if you're pregnant, you need to take special care to avoid measles because the disease can cause pregnancy loss, preterm labor, or low birth weight. So for all of you in this body who are concerned about the unborn, which I think actually is all of us, this is a particular place where if you're concerned about women who may be pregnant who want those babies and want them to be born healthy, this is really important because people can have the measles and spread it before any symptoms appear. And really the only way to get our arms around this is to make sure that our people are vaccinated. So please, members, give this serious consideration. We really should be suspending the rules and taking up this bill.
Discussion. The gentleman from Washington, Chairman Dean M.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would Representative Omar yield to a question?
She will yield. The gentleman from Washington.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Omar, I see that in your bill, House File 2630, you have a 2-year targeted grant program to fund immunization-related activities. Could you explain exactly what those activities are and where the kids currently are who have the measles and how you plan to respond to that within your bill, the House file that's before us that you're asking us to suspend the rules to take up?
The lady from Hennepin, Representative Omar.
Thank you, Speaker. Chair Dean. The areas where the children are affected currently and where the information will be targeted to and who the grants would be given to, those things are we're working those things out with the Department of Health. They have that information. And today, the debate that we're having, it's about us acting urgently in preventing the spread of measles. And I think the particular details of where these children reside in is information that we need to talk to the Department of Health about.
The gentleman from Washington, Chairman Dean M.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would Representative Omar yield to another question, please?
She will yield. The gentleman from Washington, Chairman Dean M.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Omar, well, it really does matter. The details really do matter, especially when we're doing outreach to try to reach children. And if you're trying to respond to a specific outbreak, that's a very serious thing in the state of Minnesota, as we have done in the past. We want to be able to respond quickly and effectively to an outbreak. We've seen an outbreak of TB this year in Minnesota, and we've seen moms and dads call us really worried about what are we going to do if somebody at my kid's school has TB. The Minnesota Department of Health does an excellent job of responding very quickly, a lot of times with federal dollars, which is a lot of the grant programs within the Minnesota Department of Health, but also some state dollars to be able to respond very quickly and very effectively to certain outbreak situations. So sometimes when we respond in a way that helps, and sometimes we respond in a way that is not helpful. And what I want to make sure that we do when we respond is that we're doing so in concert with the Minnesota Department of Health, which I think is the best Department of Health in the country at responding, and also for dealing with chemicals, dealing with antigens, dealing with stuff we don't know what we're dealing with. Our Department of Health is better than 49 other departments of health in the country at doing that, and we've been recognized as a national leader for that. What I'm a little bit concerned about is that I don't understand exactly what the money is going to be spent on and exactly how that money is going to be deployed to help folks, because we obviously want to do that. But could you please try again and just give us a little bit better idea of exactly what the money is going to be used for and how that responds specifically to the kids in the area that is being affected, either demographically, geographically, how we're going to respond to this.
The lady from Hennepin, Representative Omar.
Thank you, Speaker. Chair Dean, thank you for that question. And I do agree that Minnesota Department of Health is probably one of the most great departments that we have. And I really do appreciate you raising that point. Like I said, we have been working with the Department of Health in coming up with this bill. This is a need that they have come to us with, and they are going to create an RFP. They're going to work with the communities that are affected by the measles outbreak. This is a prevention measure, and I trust that they will do the right thing with the funds that we give them, and I know that you trust them to do the right thing with the funds that we give them.
Gentleman from Washington, Chairman Dean M.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Omar. Well, I have not been contacted by the Commissioner of Health with a specific request around this dollar amount. I have not spoken with him about that. Perhaps you have, and if so, I would like to see the correspondence that you have specifically to this emergency request, because we have not received that. I've not talked to him about that, and perhaps you have, and I would like to have all of the communication that you have if the Minnesota Department of Health is proposing a specific response. Also, Hennepin County also has a response that they are working on. I want to make sure that they are in concert together before we do that. And Representative Omar, when it comes to measles and vaccines, I have been a proponent of trying to depoliticize that. And in the past, I've been the only person on my side of the aisle to vote against some very political amendments on this, because I understand that in the Somali community in particular in Minnesota, there is a heightened awareness around the increase in autism and a perceived link between the two, between the vaccines for measles and autism. And I thought that particular amendment was trying to scare people, and that people would get that warning and they would be scared and they wouldn't vaccinate their kids. So I said no, because I thought that was political, and it should be about the health of kids. And I think that we have to pay very close attention to that, because sometimes our actions here, whether they're politically motivated or not, can have real effects on whether or not people vaccinate their kids, on whether or not the kids get the care that they need. So I would urge caution in terms of this particular area because of the sensitivity. Representative Omar, I can make my pledge to you that we will continue look at this carefully and work with the Department of Health. But I don't see how this particular bill is responding to the specific emergency that we have now with outreach and contact to groups that I don't even see named. So for that reason, I don't know if the proper response is $500,000. It might be $3 million. It might be $7 million. It might be less than that. I don't really know yet, Representative Omar. I do know that it's an emergency, and we do, as Minnesotans, need to stand up to that and respond to it. But I don't think suspending the rules and showing that your fellow members a bill that they've never seen before is the appropriate response or, frankly, the right one.
Discussion. The lady from Hennepin, Representative Loeffler.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. I've always been proud of this body that whenever something happens disastrous in any part of the state, no matter who's in the majority and who's in the minority, we step up for that community. And we do it no matter where we are in the budget process or the decision-making process, whether it's a terrible fire, whether it's a tornado, whether it's an infectious agency amongst the turkey growers. We have stepped up when something unusual demands immediate attention. And this virus is like a fire. It starts small, but then it spreads. There's a germination time that can be as long as 3 weeks before the next kids that have been exposed start to show the symptoms. And by that time, they've interacted in other places and other places that have infected other people and put both adults and children at risk. And while it may be more concentrated right now in the metro area, we can't forget, we may not have, maybe the Mega Mall isn't as popular as Disneyland, but we got to remember that when that outbreak took place, it quickly spread to 7 states and 2 other countries. This is the kind of thing that can move really fast. It can't wait while you take weeks to think about what's the best strategy and who's got the best fiscal note. You step up, and if you don't need all those resources, you celebrate, because only the resources that are needed are going to be put on the ground and to work. But if it suddenly shows up in 4 other counties next week, we want those 4 other counties to be engaged. We want the personnel there, the educational materials there, the outreach there, the schools engaged, the child care facilities engaged. This thing can move really fast, and that's why we need to move fast. We need to suspend the rules and get this moving.
The lady from St. Louis, Representative Schultz.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just want to point out that if we were very serious about this and outbreaks, that we wouldn't be cutting the Department of Health across the board. So they have to eliminate staff, so they won't be able to do the high level of monitoring or address outbreaks. So if you guys do care about outbreaks, hopefully then you'll change the HHS budget so there are no cut targets for the Department of Health.
The lady from Stearns, Representative Tice.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Of course, Stearns County was the last county that was hit, and so yes, we've had our case happen as well. But when you look into what's happening, I think absolutely Representative and Chair Matt Dean hit it on the nose, because today I received a little handout that talks about our Somali American populations more at risk for autism. So there definitely is a link between what they're being told. No, wait, before you shake your heads, there is a link about what Somali Americans are being told and what is happening with the MMRs. And so what we need to do is really figure out what's happening here. When I get a publication or a handout that is from the Freedom Action groups that they don't want folks to immunize, then we really need to look at what we need to do. I heard from our Stearns County Health Department as well, and they're really hitting it where they're trying to get that good information out and to make sure kids are vaccinated. So they are reacting in a special way. But when we had the avian flu outbreak, there were a ton of meetings that happened before we suspended rules and got bills to the floor. It took a while, so I would absolutely love to see us do something, but make sure we're doing the right thing, and we should be meeting about this
and finding out what do we really need to do, what's really happening out there. And I think the biggest thing we need to hit is the information that the American Somalis are being told, Somali Americans are being told. Thank you.
The gentleman from Hennepin, Representative Freiberg.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will Representative Tice yield to a question?
She will yield. The gentleman from Hennepin, Representative Freiberg.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Tice, I'm not sure I totally followed what you said there. Can you tell me whether you believe that vaccines cause autism?
The lady from Stearns, Representative Tice.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. No, I do not believe it. But what I'm hearing is the information that's been given to a lot of the Somali Americans are telling them that. And so they are not vaccinating because they don't want to worry about autism. So I think what we need to look at is who's telling them the information, and we really need to hit these groups so that they're getting better information. Right, when I look at this, it says that the misinformation they're getting is about the vaccine, not about anything else. And so that really is troubling to me, and I would like to see that we really target those groups that are giving the misinformation out.
Gentleman from Hennepin, Representative Freiberg.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Tice, I think you're arguing in favor of this bill. There is a great deal of misinformation out there. There have been articles on NPR, there have been articles in the Star Tribune describing the efforts of anti-vaccine advocates, I can't even believe that's a thing, but it is a thing, targeting communities who have legitimate concerns with autism. One of the statements they made is, it was in the, will you yield for another question, Representative Tice?
The lady will yield. The gentleman from Hennepin, Representative Freiberg.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In the NPR News story, the advocates who were hosting the events in Minneapolis this past weekend, they were quoted as saying their message is that autism is the real epidemic, not measles. Do you agree with that statement?
The lady from Stearns, Representative Tice.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. No, I do not, and that is my concern. And if you would have listened to the whole part of what I had said first was that when we had the avian flu outbreak, there were a lot of meetings that happened before a bill came to the floor. We haven't had a lot of meetings. We haven't had a lot of input about what we're going to do. I'm not sure that this bill is going to do what we should be doing. I'm concerned for my community because if there's one, I'm pretty sure there's going to be a few more after that. So what I would like to do is make sure that the work that we do is let's hold some more meetings, let's figure this out, and then let's come together on the House floor, just as we did with the avian incident.
Gentleman from Hennepin, Representative Freiberg.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Again, I don't follow your line of reasoning. You're saying we should hold more meetings and discuss this issue and counter the misinformation that's out there. This bill would do that. I've spoken separately from Representative Omar with staff at the Minnesota Department of Health. They've stated they need more resources. I think they are doing yeoman's work. They are doing a wonderful job reaching out to this community in a culturally sensitive way. But they are doing it within limited resources that are part of the result of the decisions we are making here. There is a $600 million negative target for the HHS bill. MDH staff has said that for this program to be minimally effective, they told me at least on the phone that they need at least $500,000 for it to be effective. There is serious misinformation out there, as you point out, and this bill would do a great deal in countering it. And just speaking personally as a parent here, I find some of the information that's being put out there incredibly offensive. I have a child with autism. His autism was not caused by vaccinations. These people saying that autism is the real epidemic is incredibly offensive to me.
The lady from Hennepin, Representative Flanagan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So we've been speaking about the needs in the Somali community and the needs to hear from the Somali community. Well, members, we are fortunate enough to have a state representative from the Somali community who's telling you exactly what her community needs. And I think we should believe her, and I think we should listen to her. And I also just want to say that when we talk about the avian flu, we're talking about birds. I like birds, but I think there's more of an urgency around issues that affect children who are hospitalized and who risk death. So Representative Omar, I appreciate this bill, and I am happy to support you for all the children in Minnesota. Thank you.
The lady from Hennepin, Representative Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And you know, we're talking here about 20 or 32 children. In 2016, there were 70 cases in 10 states. So this is a health crisis. And the oftentimes, you know, it's in immigrant communities, American Indian communities, communities of color, we generally need to spend more money because, and the Department of Health has people on staff who are good at developing programs that money can be distributed to organizations that are already working with the targeted population, whether it's a language barrier, cultural barrier, there's unique considerations, unique factors. So that is why I'm supporting the motion to suspend the rules. And this whole debate here, you know, as an American Indian, I was also sort of targeted at last year and the before of those that are resisting Representative Freiberg's bill on vaccination because somehow they thought I would identify with that as an indigenous and somehow that I don't believe in vaccines because of it's not holistic or some sort of stereotype for American Indians. But that sort of thing about targeting immigrant communities, communities of color, surrounding, you know, minority views where you, because I was okay with maybe 4 or 5 people that had an opposition. I said, can we accommodate, you know, a very small number of people that don't believe in vaccination for whatever reason? But at any point, I said, if that's not the case, as it is apparent here, I will be the first one to aggressively support measures to make sure that we addressed any outbreak. And you think about that, targeting a Somali community, a movement anti-vaccination, which is pretty much akin to climate deniers or, so, you know, we can allow that to exist at a certain level because of freedom of speech or religion or whatever, but mostly it's fear. But when it starts to become a health risk, when it starts to become where where climate change, when it becomes a threat to the species, then, you know, then we can no longer we may still be able to accommodate them, but we have to take action, and sometimes we have to take action that will infringe on somebody's individual rights for the health of general welfare of others. So that's sort of, to me, it doesn't play out well, chickens versus children. It doesn't play out well. It doesn't play out well that you're using process to avoid taking action. It doesn't play out well that you're saying that the Department of Health can deal with this problem using customary means when we're talking about a community that has unique needs, and when there are 28 children, or sorry, 32 children, and 28 are Somali children, this will not play out well if we don't act today to take action.
The gentleman from Sherburne, Representative Knobloch.
Well, Mr. Speaker, members, let me make 3 points on this and why we should not suspend the rules. First of all, members, we have a Department of Health that is funded. We have people working there. They are working diligently right now on this particular issue. Secondly, it's not just the Department of Health that is working on it in our state. I want to read part of an email I got just in the last couple of days from Stearns County Public Health to talk about what is being done there. Because yes, I represent part of Stearns County. We have had, as Representative Tice mentioned, 1 measles case in Stearns County, and we are reacting to it. Our local government authorities are reacting. This is the Director of Public Health in Stearns County saying, quote, "Since the first case in Minnesota, Stearns County Public Health has been coordinating community outreach efforts and education with our partners such as CentraCare, the St. Cloud Hospital, Health Partners, and other community providers. With the case now in Stearns County, we have ramped up our efforts even more. our joint outreach activities now include even more places and people, and to broaden our reach, we will be doing this over weekends and evenings where we will have an even better impact. Our efforts at all levels, both public and private, have helped educate and vaccinate a small but significant number of children. So members, there are efforts going on right now through local governments, through state governments, with the money that they already have to deal with this. The second point I'd make, members, is, at least in my position as the Ways and Means Chair of the Ways and Means Committee, the Budget Committee, I have heard no request from the Department of Health for more money. I haven't received any communication from the governor for more money. We haven't received, to the best of my knowledge, any notice from our state government executive branch saying they need more money for the Department of Health. And given that, I would presume that since they are the ones who are managing the Department of Health, that they feel they have adequate resources at this present time to deal with this situation. Finally, members, I want to assure you that if I felt that passing this and suspending the rules would mean one person did not die, did not get sick, I would absolutely support the suspension of the rules. But the idea of suspending the rules is that there is an emergency and we need to act now. But if you look at the bill, if you look at page 2, line 15, you'll find out the $500,000 isn't appropriated in fiscal year 2018. So if we act on this now and pass it today, and it goes to the Senate and the governor signs it in a day or two, none of this money is available for at least 2 months. So members, there isn't an emergency here that this is going to help. Now, if the governor becomes convinced that we do need to spend more money, we are in the negotiating or about to enter the negotiating process, I hope, with him and his department. And if they come forward with a request, we will certainly give it all the consideration that it deserves, and that would be serious consideration if they really feel in the Department of Health that they need more funds for this. But members, we have the resources, our state and local governments are acting right now, and if we pass this, there's no help for the supposed emergency because none of the money is available for 2 months. So members, there's no need to suspend the rules today. Vote red.
The lady from Dakota, Representative Halverson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, there's good reason to suspend the rules today. And we need to let our Department of Health know that these funds are available and when they're going to be available, because our Department of Health and our local county public health are facing cuts as we go into budget negotiations. I'm sure many of you had your county workers come to you to talk about the cuts that are being faced by local county public health through the state of Minnesota's budget, and that the Department of Health also has a number of dollars that are on the chopping block for no good reason that I can see, because public health is an incredibly important piece of the work that the state of Minnesota does. And so I feel like the legislature is talking out of two sides of its mouth right now, saying, oh yes, we're really concerned about the measles epidemic in Minnesota, and we're really concerned about the children that are sick today and the children that are going to be sick tomorrow and the next day and the day after that. Those babies who might not be immunized yet, who might have a contact. And the fact is our Department of Health right now is out on the ground. Our local public health are out there right now, out on the ground. At the same time, when we look at our universal budget targets for health and human services, we know what the impact is going to be. And so I think that it is incumbent upon us in the legislature to say, at the very least, I don't think we should be cutting them, but if we're going to, if the budget comes back with cuts to health and human services, at the very least we have to know that there is money set aside to do community outreach, to increase immunization rates, to do education, to make sure that we have follow-up with families whose children have been exposed to measles and have been sick, that we have follow-up with pregnant women who have been exposed to measles and been sick. We have to have some assurances, and this is some insurance. This is some backstop to the cuts that are being made to health and human services. So The fact is, we have sick children in Minnesota. The fact is, we have a healthcare epidemic in Minnesota, the healthiest state in the nation. Are we going to let our kids continue to get sick? Are we going to not put a backstop on and say, yes, we're going to make sure that the funding is there today? Because it is there today. We haven't cut it yet. It's getting cut next year, though. And we want to be sure that there is some backstop in our state budget to say that we are going to address this epidemic now, and we're going to make sure that the funds are there to either backfill or continue to address the issue as it moves down the road. It's not a one-month project, Representative Knobloch. This is a long-term, intensive project that we have going on with public health. We have to stop the epidemic now, and we have to prevent an epidemic in the future. This isn't the first measles outbreak we've had in this state. Don't let California one-up us. California had that terrible outbreak at Disneyland a few years ago, and they passed laws and they put resources into place to prevent this from happening again. Minnesota should be doing this today.
Discussion. Lady from Hennepin, Representative Omar.
Thank you. What I'm hearing today in opposition to suspending the rules and taking up this bill is that it wasn't your idea, Representative Knobloch. That's what I hear. Representative Matt Dean, that's what I hear, that you didn't come up with it. No one came to you with the idea that this wasn't your solution. This is why you're opposing it. This is why you're willing to have young children die.
For what purposes the
Of
gentleman
measles.
Excuse me.
Mr. Speaker,
And that's
advice.
what's going to happen.
Excuse me,
Mr.
Representative
Speaker.
Omar. Excuse me, please.
It is not
The
proper
gentleman
for
from
members.
Hennepin, Representative Hertaus.
Thank you. It is not proper for members to judge the motive of anybody's speech. Thank you.
Let's watch our speech on judging motives. The lady from Hennepin, Representative Omar.
Not judging, just reiterating what I'm hearing. So, as a member of the Somali community, and as someone who represents a lot of the young children who are hospitalized with measles, I have had many conversations with the Department of Health. The Department of Health has been in communication with the community about what they need to be able to stop the measles outbreak and the spread of this outbreak. What the Department of Health is hearing from the community is that they need attention, they need resources, they need help. And the Department of Health is reacting to that request. And I am reacting to the request of the Department of Health and the community. And what I'm asking you to do here today is to react to my request, to the request of the Somali community and the children that are suffering, and the request of the Department of Health. We come to this room oftentimes and have a conversation about what our priorities are and how the lives of children, born or unborn, are important to us. What you are telling me today, and what you are telling Minnesotans today, is that you only care about the lives of particular children. By not allowing the rules to be suspended, by not allowing resources to be allocated so that we can stop this outbreak, rest assured that the message you are sending is that you only care about particular children's lives. Thank you.
And members, once again, to recent comments here, on debate 124, section 3, it is not the person but the measure that is the subject of debate, and it is not allowable to arraign the motives of a member. So let's please remember the rules here. Okay, further discussion. Now, members, it takes 90 votes to suspend the rules. The clerk will take the roll. The clerk will close the roll. There being 59 ayes and 73 ayes, the motion to suspend the rules does not prevail. Motions and resolutions.
Franzen moves that House File number 2621 be recalled from the Committee on Health and Human Services Reform and be re-referred to the Committee on Civil Law and Data Practices Policy. The lady from Douglas, Chair Franzen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, I've spoken to both of the chairs, and they are in agreement to move House File 2621 to the Committee on Civil Law and Data Practices.
All in favor say aye. Opposed say nay. Motion prevails. Announcements. The gentleman from Dakota, Chairman Garofalo.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. Two quick announcements. Members for all members of the body that the Job Growth, Energy Affordability, Policy and Finance Committee conference report is posted and online. While it is wrapped up, we're still seeking input from members of both sides of the aisle if you have concerns or things that you would like to see addressed, whether they be funding priorities, funding reductions. Please feel free to drop me an email at the legislative account because, again, it is pretty much wrapped up, but still the door hasn't closed. Second of all, Republican members of the Jobs Committee will be meeting very briefly right after session for a short meeting in room 227 across the hall. So, again, Republican Jobs 227.
Announcements. Representative Nornis, Chairman Nornis.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to announce after adjournment, the Conference Committee on Higher Education will convene at about 15 minutes after in room 123.
Announcements. The gentleman from Rosso, Representative Fabian. Chairman Fabian.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just a reminder that Conference Committee on House File 888 will meet 30 minutes after we adjourn.
Gentleman from Blue Earth, Representative Cornish, Chairman Cornish. Oh. Announcements. The gentleman from Sherburne, Chairman Knobloch.
Mr. Speaker, I move that when the House adjourns today, it adjourns until 10 a.m. Thursday, May 4th, 2017.
Chairman Knobloch moves that when the House adjourns today, it adjourns until 10 a.m. Thursday, May 4th, 2017. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. The motion prevails. Chairman Knobloch.
Mr. Speaker, I move the House do now adjourn.
Representative Knobloch moves that the House do now adjourn. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. The motion prevails and the House stands adjourned until 10 a.m. Thursday, May 4th, 2017. We are adjourned.